Hello, so I am sitting down today to follow up on the Crohn's journey. I've already uploaded the video how I got my diagnosis with Crohn's. I'll try and link that video down below if you haven't seen it already. But this is a lead up or follow up to that and how I've coped and dealt with living with Crohn's for the past nearly 7 years. It's very hard to talk about because those first few months after my diagnosis were the hardest months I've ever had to go through. From the diagnosis to all the new symptoms that I was experiencing after my surgery and then going through more tests. They couldn't actually give me any more tests until after probably about a year, because 4 months after my surgery I actually got pregnant with our second son, Isaac. They wanted me to have a colonoscopy and a CCAT scan, but obviously both of those procedures are quite harsh on the body. So I went and saw a specialist, a gastroenterologist doctor that I was referred to in the July of 2002, and I was already pregnant at this time. So it was just a check-up to see how well I was doing. Funnily enough, a lot of my symptoms in the middle of my pregnancy actually subsided, so I felt like I didn't really need any more tests. But I was very, very wrong. After I had my son in the November of 2012, my symptoms became so much worse. The symptoms that I described to my inflammatory bowel disease nurse rang alarm bells immediately with her and put me on my Questran Light, which I talked about in the last video, because she was 100% sure that I had bile salts malabsorption. But for me to stay on that medication, even though it was really, really helping, I had to go through the CCAT scan, which basically is you take a pill with a radioisotope. It's radioactive anyway, that's why they couldn't do it while I was pregnant. They gave me that on the morning, and then at about 4 p.m. I had to go back and go through this machine, and then a week later I had to go back at 4 p.m. to go in that machine again, and this decides or shows how much of it you're reabsorbing back into your body, which I suppose it acts as the bile. I got my test results a few months later, and that told me that I definitely had bile salts malabsorption, and a normal person would reabsorb at least 15% of the bile salts back into their body, and I was reabsorbing less than 2, and that's why I was so poorly. So luckily I was able to stay on my medication, and I finally had a diagnosis to why I was having the symptoms that I was having, because I thought that the symptoms that I was having was related to the Crohn's, but actually in fact it was related to the bile salts malabsorption. So I had my son in the November, and then in the January, 8 weeks later, after my section with my boy, I had a colonoscopy. You do your cleanse the day before, but 3 days before that you're on a low residue diet. So then you start your cleanse. I'm used to the symptoms of what a cleanse would do because of my Crohn's, but so that to me wasn't the hardest part. A lot of people had said that that was the hardest part, but for me it was pretty simple. And then I went to my appointment the next day at 2:30. My husband dropped me off, left me, and I was taken through, got dressed into a gown, and then I met my gastroenterologist doctor who actually did my colonoscopy for me. So that put me at ease a little bit because I'd already met her a couple of times. Then they put a cannula in my hand, ready to give me the sedation. Now I don't want to put anyone off, and it might have just been a really bad experience for me, but I will never 100% ever go through a colonoscopy again. I expected to be pretty much out of it while I was having it done, but that was not the case. I was awake the entire time. I think the way that my intestines, like my large intestine, is shaped, they couldn't get the camera around, so I was in so much pain. And so when it goes up, it went up and then around, and then that was okay, but then it got to another corner and then it went round, and then it was this bit here where they go back round, and instead of going like a 90-degree angle, my intestine was like a 45-degree angle. So they tried and they tried and tried, after me screaming in pain and crying, turning me from my back to my side, back to my back again, and they were just like, you've got to keep still, you've got to be like, you've got to calm down, having a baby is so much worse than this. And I was like, no, I've had sections with my boys. This colonoscopy was the worst experience of my life. So basically I only got about 50 centimetres into the large intestine and decided that was it. They weren't going to do any more. They were like, so everything that I'd done, 3 days of low residue diet, the starvation on the day of the cleanse, and then the cleanse as well, going through all that was just completely wasted. They couldn't do any more. So they wheeled me back through to recovery, and I was in there for about half an hour, and I just broke down to the nurse that came and saw me, and she said, would you like to speak to the doctor that did it? And I was like, yes, because I don't understand what's gone on. So then the woman came in, and she said from what she saw that she couldn't see anything that would look worrying, but she said that they could only go 50 centimetres into the large intestine, and that I would probably have to have a MRI scan to be able, because obviously they want to see where they did all the work, which was closer and more further down towards where the large intestine joins the small intestine. So I was like, okay. They said that they'd rang my husband to come and pick me up, and the porter wheeled me down to the main entrance door, and I literally said, I'll walk from here. And I found out later, because I spoke to my doctor about it after, and I said, could it have been because I was only 8 weeks post-section and everything hasn't gone back into its place? And she was like, no, if your intestines are shaped that way, they will always be shaped that way. So I said, oh, does that mean I'll never have a colonoscopy again? And my nurse said, probably not, because it will stay and you'll experience exactly the same. So that's why I vow to never have it ever again. So I also said to them that I could walk, and she was like, I'll pretend you didn't say that, because what they gave me to put me out was enough to put down a horse. And I'm only like a 5'3.5" petite little girl and woman, and it didn't do anything. I remember everything. Like after we got to the car, I went and got a Big Mac and I ate that, and then I think maybe it took some sort of effect when I got back home, because I said, oh, I'm going to go have a lie down, and I slept for a few hours and I felt rubbish, because I suppose it's a little bit like having like an anaesthetic. And you always wake up feeling rubbish from those. So from this point, especially from like the symptoms that I was having from the malabsorption, I've always suffered with anxiety, and my anxiety was through the roof. And I suffered with postnatal depression with my son as well. So I was experiencing periods of anxiety and then periods of depression, and I was being put on all these medications to try and help, and whenever we went, I didn't want to go anywhere, because I just kept thinking, where's the nearest toilet, and what about if I need the toilet in a public place? I think like I probably hit rock bottom, really. Like I didn't want to do anything. The only thing that kept me going was that I knew that I had to work to earn money, and that was the only reason why I was doing it, was to earn money, so that we weren't suffering because of how I was suffering inside. So yeah, I probably went back to work a little bit too soon, Even after having my son as well, I went back to work very soon, like 6 weeks after. Not full time, but I was just too worried, especially having already had the Christmas off the year before, and then having my son. I couldn't really have that Christmas off either. So I suppose I got back into work to distract myself from things. So, but the day finally came that I had to have my MRI. That was again another low residue diet for 3 days, starvation for a day, and I don't think I had to do any clean prep, which is the cleanse. I just had to starve myself. I think, yeah, I don't remember going through that again, but we got there, and as soon as you get there, you're given a jug, 2 jugs of what's called contrast, and it basically dyes the intestines so that it can, because obviously this was to look at my small intestine, it was supposed to dye all that, so on the MRI scan it kind of like highlighted it to make sure that where I'd had my surgery it was all fine. So I got through the 1 jug, and then I started on the 2nd one, and it acted like a cleanse. So I needed to go to the toilet a couple of times before they called me in, and I did say to them, look, I've drank 1.5 jugs of it. I don't think I'm going to be able to drink anymore because I'm going to the toilet. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So bearing in mind that these nurses come across people all the time with people with Crohn's or bowel problems, they weren't very sympathetic to me, because I went in and I lay down and I was all right when I was on my back. I'm a bit back then I was a bit claustrophobic. I'm quite a lot claustrophobic now. I think my anxiety has made it worse, but that was fine. I put the headphones on because it's really loud in there and they're playing music, and as long as I've got a flow of air, which you do in an MRI machine, I felt fine. Until they turned me over onto my stomach so they could scan the back. And then the pressure, like I already needed to go to the toilet, especially drinking all that contrast stuff. So I lay on my stomach and just the pressure. And she said to me, if you need anything, press the buzzer. And I think she meant if you get scared in there or you start to freak out, press the buzzer. But I had to press the buzzer because I needed to get off to go to the toilet. And when she came in to get me off, she said to me, can't you hold it? You're saying to someone that has a chronic bowel condition, can you hold it? I was like, no, I need to go. So I went to the toilet, and then I came back in and they said, you've only got 5 more minutes to go, so just get back in there and get it done. Soon as I was back on there, again, the anxiety, I needed to go to the toilet again. So I pressed the button and she came in and she said to me, you're going to have to decide if you want to carry on or not. So I obviously burst into tears because I wasn't doing this on purpose. It was the stuff that they'd given me. And also I hadn't been on any of my medication to stop, because you have to stop that 2 days before. So I just said to her, fine, I won't carry on, I'm done. So I walked out, went to the toilet, came out, went into the changing area, was crying, asked my husband to come into me. And I just said to him, they're being really horrible to me, to say that they go through this all the time and they know what that kind of stuff does to people with bowel conditions. And I said, I'm not carrying on. I know there's only a couple more minutes left of it, but I'm done. So we went and sat down for a bit while I calmed down, and a different nurse came out to me, and she was really nice, and she said, how about we give you 20 minutes, send the other person in, you go to the toilet as many times as you want, and then hopefully by the time we call you back in, you won't need to go anymore. And I was like, fine. But in those 20 minutes, typically, I didn't go to the toilet at all. I didn't need to go. So she came back out to me, she goes, look, you've only got 5 more minutes left of it. And I was like, they said that, I need to go. So I went back in and I finally got through it. Yes, I needed to go to the toilet, but I was like, just do it. Just do it. I just want to get out of here. I've been there like 2 hours already. I just wanted to go. So I did that, and then I come back out, got dressed, went back home, and I was just traumatised for the rest of my life. So I have vowed never to have a colonoscopy again, and never to have a MRI ever again. Because obviously they want to test you every couple of years, and it's been 7 years now, and they keep trying to get me to have these tests done, and I'm like, no, no. And then I tried to do the wireless capsule test, went for the trial run, although they'd rearranged it once on me already, within the space of a week. So I had to do all the prep and stuff again. And then when it came to actually doing the real test, they gave me a date, and I couldn't do it because I was working. I said to them, it will either have to be this date or this date, and the appointment never quite came through, and the trial run ran out. So I had to do the trial run again, and I said, no, I'm not doing it. So the last time I saw my specialist was about a year ago, and luckily it was a different doctor, and I said to her, I feel well-ish. Don't get me wrong, I have my bad days and I have my good days, but the majority of the time I'm okay. So she said to me, if you just do a stool sample, bring it back and we'll test it, and if it looks okay, then we'll leave you alone. And I was like, fine, I'll compromise and I'll do that. Collecting poop is not like damaging your body, taking yourself off tablets to no symptoms are going to come back again. Whereas you don't have to do that with a stool sample, you just do it. So I did that. Haven't heard anything back from it. So as far as I'm aware, everything is fine. My next appointment is, well, was meant to be in July. They rearranged it to October, and now they've rearranged that to January. So I'm not going to chase it up. I feel well in myself, so I'll just plod on like I always do. But I also wanted to, like I have already talked about in this video, that I do suffer a lot with anxiety, and my anxiety at the moment is probably the worst it's ever been. Like, I don't cry very often. Like when I was younger I used to cry all the time, but it's very rare that you see me cry these days. And about a week ago I just broke down, and it had nothing to do with the Crohn's because I just get on with that, but the anxiety, the fatigue, everything just felt like it had piled on top of me. I feel like I'm doing too much with work at the moment. I'm trying my hardest to please everyone, and then I'm having doubts in my head whether I'm good enough. I get tremors in my hands, which isn't good for a hairdresser, whether that's to do with anxiety or whether it's something else. I'm constantly thinking there's something else wrong with me, or there's something wrong, like the amount of times, like, well, not the amount of times, but I've been to the doctors about silly little things, like my tonsil was hurting the once, and like pains in my chest, and now for the past 3 years as well, every time I take a shower I constantly itch, like as soon as I come out, and it can last anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. And if anyone out there suffers with anything like that, please, please, please let me know if this is common. Like I've taken antihistamines and I continue to do so even though they do nothing. I've used the Dream Cream from Lush, I've used double base gel, I've used E45 cream, I've used Nivea soft cream afterwards, and it just makes it worse. Like, some days I think I'm getting somewhere with it, so it's not so bad one day, but then the next day it's so hard. I need to go back to the doctors about it and see what they said, because one doctor did say that it's common with people that have got Crohn's, but I didn't really ask any more about that. So I mean, I just hate going to the doctors. The complications that I had before I got diagnosed with Crohn's, to every time I go to doctors now, my anxiety waiting, like for the appointment, for any appointment, just sitting and waiting. Like I have to have blood tests done every 3 months, and I go at 7 o'clock on a night time. Luckily we just live across from the hospital, but I go at 7 o'clock at night knowing that it will be quiet, so that I don't have to sit and wait and think and process everything that's going on, because that's what anxiety does. Anxiety makes you believe or worry about everything. It makes you believe that you're not good enough. It makes you believe that that the friends that you do have don't like or support you. It makes you really needy. Like, I feel so needy. My husband, I feel so sorry for him because obviously he lives with me. I just take it out on him all the time, and it's getting to the point now where my frustration is coming out onto my kids as well. And this is why I want to do videos like this, because it is something that I enjoy doing. But I don't know. In the next few months, there are going to be a few changes to my work and my life. So I'm hoping, I really hope, everything is always hoping that once I've passed this hurdle, it's going to be better. And at this point in my life right now, nothing has made it better, and I just feel like I'm getting worse. But I will leave it there because I could talk and talk about anxiety all the time, so I think I'll leave that for another video. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Anyone out there that suffers with Crohn's and has problems like I do, if you want any advice, I'm not the best. Like, I know what I've been through, and if you would like some advice about Crohn's, or you're newly diagnosed and you're watching this video, you're not alone, and there is someone here to listen to you. So if you ever want to talk, just pop a comment down below and we can have a chat. And I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please like it and subscribe, because, well, I've got nothing else better to do when I'm not working. So yeah, and now I've got my camera, hopefully we'll get quite a few more of these sit down videos done for you. Thank you so much for watching.